Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how the Green Bay Packers hold on. This was the full Samuel L. Jackson hold on to your butts experience for the Green Bay Packers against an extremely banged up Baltimore Ravens team. But they do, in fact, hold on to their butts and get a win against the Baltimore Ravens 31-30. We're gonna talk about special teams. We're gonna talk about defense. We're gonna talk about the good and the bad in this game. Let's start here. The Green Bay Packers are the number one seed in the NFC. You never apologize for wins. And I think the most important thing in all of this is this offense has found its footing. Now, I can't explain what's going on in the first quarter of these games when this Packers offense is inexplicably lackluster. I have one potential explanation. Aaron Rodgers has not practiced in a month. It takes him a little while. He missed that first throw to Davante Adams. They had him on a double move. That's a potential big play, if not a touchdown. Then, all of a sudden, they get it into gear. The run game in the second half. They come out in the second half. Tie ball game, second half. It's the Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon show. They pound one of the best run defenses in the league, a top 5 run defense by DVOA. They pound it down their throat. Aaron Rodgers in this game ties the franchise record for career touchdowns. He goes 23 of 31 for 268 and 3 scores, a 132 passer rating. This team averaged almost 6 yards per play on the day. The offense was excellent, except at the end of the first half, they had a sack that knocked them back out of range, and then they had a sack in the second half with a chance to really put a stranglehold on this game. They come up short in that moment, but they won this game. Green Bay wins the NFC North. They are assured a home playoff game, and LOL, the Cardinals lost to the Lions and didn't just lose. They got their butts kicked. I mean, they got their butts kicked. We're recording this right after the game, so we have not seen what happens yet. Bucks Saints, for those of you listening to the podcast, which will come out Monday morning. This offense has so many different ways to beat you, and that's what you have to have in the playoffs. In this game, it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 5 catches, 98 yards, and a score. He had a couple huge plays. There was the touchdown drive where he scored the touchdown. He also converted a 3rd and 9 for 25 yards, a big play. When he is in this offense, it just changes the geometry of what defenses can do. Because if you're going to take a safety and you're going to occupy him over Davante Adams, which, by the way, did not matter inside the 5 when Davante Adams cooked the just helpless Ravens corner, who was supposed to be playing outside leverage, funnel him to your help in the safety. And Adams gave him the inside move, came back outside for the touchdown. If you're going to spend all of that attention on Davante Adams, then that is one safety for 3/4 of the field against MVS, Allen Lazard, eventually, hopefully Randall Cobb, and Josiah DeGuara is starting to get in the mix here, Mercedes Lewis. When you look at this game, there were 9 players who got targets. 9. 8 guys caught passes from Aaron Rodgers. And Mercedes Lewis, they're scheming up these little tight end flat routes where he's got space to run. He's making plays. They're scheming up Josiah DeGuara, getting him in the middle of the field with a chance to catch and run. Allen Lazard, he was wide open for a touchdown. He missed one. Aaron Rodgers missed him for a big play. They get the sort of phantom defensive pass interference. But you get Aaron Jones. 13 carries, 58 yards in this game. He averages over 4.5 yards a carry. A.J. Dillon, 7 carries, 22 yards. Now, they didn't kill the Ravens on the ground by any means, but they got it going in the second half on the drive when they needed to get it going. At the end of the game, they weren't quite able to execute well enough. But this is the 4th straight game where Green Bay has scored 30 plus. And in all of them, you felt like they could have scored more. That is an incredible place to be. Already the number 1 seed. Jair Alexander back at practice. David Bakhtiari back at Seems like we're back. How do you fix these issues? How do you fix the first quarter problems that you're having? I don't have an answer for that beyond just have Aaron Rodgers practice. Now, I don't know if just Aaron Rodgers practicing is going to solve those problems. But it does seem like there's a pretty good connection between this offense starting slow and that issue. Now, on the other hand, the defense has not made it easy because the defense has had its own issues starting out in these games. And we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the defense in a second. But I want to stay here for just one last point on this. Against a Baltimore Ravens team that loves to bring pressure. I know they have a banged up secondary playing no corners that you'd ever heard of. But Aaron Rodgers was pinpoint accurate for the most part, had 2 misses really. 2 misses turned out to be highly consequential. One cost the Packers 4 points and what would have been a much easier win at the end of this game. And he missed the Devontae Adams throw at the beginning. You want that margin for error to be a little bit bigger. And if you could start a little faster in the first quarter, if you could just not have to fall behind every single game. I mean, how many games has this happened now where Green Bay has an issue on their first drive? They're not able to move the ball effectively. They can't get points and they go down 7-0. They go down 10-0. They get on 14-0. They have to get that part of it fixed. And I don't know how you do that. They were in 3rd and manageable today, 3rd and 3 to open the game. Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams wide ass open and he misses it. I can't explain that. And you can't scheme that because they had the perfect call. They were just a tick off in the execution. Now, all that said, they're 11-3. They're the NFC North champs again. Sorry, Bears fans. Sorry, Vikings fans. Sorry, we're not sorry. You think it's a dawning of a new era, and it might be just not the one that you hope because the Packers are still the champs. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money because with Boost, you get the power of a free 5G iPhone so you can listen to all the latest episodes or whatever phone you want. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line so your family can harness all that brain power too. And the power of one of America's largest 5G networks so you can do all of that with the speed of 5G. With all that money you'll save and all that knowledge you'll gain, how much more powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. That's Boost Mobile. And if you're like me, you often stare into your cabinet going, I don't have anything good in the house. If you're a cheesehead, you probably love cheese as much as I do. You love the green and gold. You know how the best part of a grilled cheese sandwich is the cheese that melts off in the pan and gets crunchy? Grilled cheese sandwiches tonight in my house, by the way, a little tomato soup. Well, Just the Cheese made a bar out of just that. That's why I started snacking on Just the Cheese. I love them. I went through a couple of them yesterday trying to watch my son. He likes them. Break off a little piece. And he loves cheese, the real thing, and this, which is just the real thing. That's the cool thing. 100% cheese, no fluff, no filler. It is terrific. No complicated recipes or almond flour that makes you feel like you're eating health food. Just natural cheese baked until it's crunchy to give you the great taste of Wisconsin cheese with the crackle of a cracker. Support 2 Midwest businesses when you get Just the Cheese at Quick Trip. All right, let's talk about the defense, because we know the special teams is a tire fire. They did not kill the Packers in this game, though. A penalty gave the Ravens a short field, and they ended up scoring a touchdown on it. The potential game-winning touchdown came off a punt that was a shank because they couldn't because they couldn't get the ball snapped on a punt. A delay of game, an unintentional delay of game on a punt backed up in your own end. This isn't try and make from the 45, give yourself a little bit more room to not have a touchback. This was just a pure and simple screw up. This team in no facet is playing with any sort of discipline. Now, they put Russell Douglas out on kick coverage, Kevin King out on kick coverage, Alan Lazard out on kick coverage, and it helped a little. But it's still a you-know-what show. It is. And they have to get it fixed. And they're probably not going to get it fixed, is the reality. You have to score enough offensively, and you have to play well defensively so that it doesn't hurt you. And the Packers didn't quite do that in this game. If the special teams is a B in this game, the Packers win by a touchdown. They couldn't even do that. Defensively, there are two things that I think we have to look at here. The first is, I'm going to start on the negative side. The first is the lack of adjustments by Joe Barry, or at least the lack of useful adjustments. Now, he brought in Kevin King, which I thought was interesting. If Kevin King is going to be a nickel safety, I actually think that is a fun wrinkle. He's probably better than Henry Black, especially in coverage. He was doing some like deep middle cover 2 drops like he's a Mike linebacker. But I like that because he's got better coverage instincts than whatever linebacker you're going to put out there and better cover skills than Henry Black, albeit not a good corner and not in a position on 4th down where you want him matched up with Mark Andrews, which is what happened at the end of the game. That kind of stuff just can't happen. And they were playing passive, reactionary football the entire day. And outside of the one big play to Mark Andrews on the first drive, that was really the only one where it was a bust, where it's a catch underneath. It should have been a 12-yard game, and it turns into a 45-yard game because you have 2 missed tackles, and it turns into this big play. The Packers, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks have been giving up more of these big plays. Usually, though, over the top. Not this catch and run, create after the play. That's just not been what they've been allowing. This is problematic here. Now, what you're getting, luckily, is Devondre Campbell makes a big play on the first drive to keep them out of the end zone on 4th down. They get a false start on 4th and 1 when the Ravens are going to go for it. That turns into a field goal. They got a little bit lucky here too. But it was so passive. It was so soft. They were treating this offense like these guys, like this was like Randy Moss and Chris Carter. Like, oh, these guys are just going to run by us and create down the field. I didn't understand why they felt like they needed to play so back, so off every snap, especially like Eric Stokes. No one on this team can run by you. Not one single receiver, not Hollywood Brown. Eric Stokes is 4.28, and he started playing a little bit closer in the second half, and all of a sudden he's making these tackles, and it's a 4-yard gain, it's a 5-yard gain, it's a pass breakup. Eric Stokes was really good once again. Really good once again. For a rookie to come in and do what he has done is really quite impressive. But Darnell Savage comes in and plays the worst half of football he's played in the NFL. You don't expect that. Not a Maryland kid. He was terrible against Mark Andrews. But then at the end of the game against Mark Andrews, where he's not in man coverage, but he's playing safety, he sprints, he breaks up the play. They have the star players and the high-level talent players to make up for some of these deficiencies in high-leverage moments. That's what you need in these high-leverage moments, is you need Devondre Campbell to come up with a sack. You need Darnell Savage to come through with a pass breakup. You need Eric Stokes to be in sticky coverage. That's what you need. And that's what they got in this game, albeit against Tyler Huntley, who, by the way, you can say backup quarterback, and he is a backup quarterback, but he played awesome in this game. He played really well against Cleveland, a solid Cleveland defense last week. And he was a very, very underrated prospect coming out of college. The numbers, the projection numbers with him were really, really good. So I don't think we should just slough this off. The other part of this is a very unique offense to prepare for. No one plays like this team does. And this was not the Lamar Jackson show. This was not that offense. They're not running, QB sweeps and, some of the crazy QB runs. They're not running read option. They're not giving you the full bag of runs. But this is a difficult and weird offense to prepare for that really no one else plays like Baltimore does. This is an uncommon opponent with a quarterback that you have limited scouting snaps on. I want to give them a little bit of a pass in that way. I also think we cannot underestimate the impact of Kenny Clark in this game. How many times did Tyler Huntley escape up the middle? How many times did an edge rusher get pressure and Tyler Huntley was able to escape through the guard or the center gap where Kenny Clark would have been? How many times did the Ravens get 3 yards inside for a first down when all they could have gotten was 1 if Kenny Clark is in there and it's a third down stop? He has been playing at that kind of level this season where you go, his mere presence on the field could have changed the game in a meaningful way in this contest. Now, the great thing is with the COVID protocols, assuming he's vaccinated, he can be back next week. Got to test the double negative, but he could be back against the Browns when you're going to need him. And by the way, the Browns are playing on a short week. They're playing, this modified schedule. They're going to have to play on a short week now, coming off of what should have been a Saturday game and is no longer going to be a Saturday game. This whole week, the whole schedule got majorly fakakta, and they're gonna have to figure that part of it out. But they're playing on Monday night now, and they're gonna have to play on a Saturday night. That's not the worst turnaround in the world. But you hope you can get Kenny Clark back for it, and if you can get Jair Alexander back for it too, against a Browns team that really only has 1.5 scary pass catchers, that doesn't have a tight end like Mark Andrews, and that doesn't, honestly, Tyler Huntley is better than any of the quarterbacks playing on Cleveland. I'm dead ass about that. And in fact, I tweeted out that would Tyler Huntley be the second best QB in the NFC North, and I got a message from a league source about it, and he was like, the implication was that he thought that I was right about that, that he might be better than Kirk Cousins, that he might be better than Jared Goff, not a high bar, but certainly better than Justin Fields. And so I don't think there's a lot of shame in giving up some yards and some points in this game, especially short fields. Second half, this team's coming back. You're playing soft, but the lack of adjustments and the game plan to start with, I just didn't like the game plan. It's the first time all year where I thought, well, the first time since week 1, where I just haven't understood what Joe Barry wanted to accomplish. What is the goal here? What would you say it is you do here exactly? Now, obviously, Joe Barry's had a very good season. I think he has really elevated this defense in meaningful ways, elevated players who had been underperforming players and found roles for them. Russell Douglas, another quality game. Devondre Campbell, another quality game for Green Bay. Some of these guys who were cast-offs, he has turned into really very good players, and that is a credit to him. This Packers team, I think, in a week where you're preparing for a little bit more of a traditional opponent, and most of the teams they're going to face in the NFC playoffs, because that's what matters, right? The NFC playoffs is all that matters. So, okay, how do you match up with the Rams? We know. How do you match up with the Bucks? How do you match up with the Cardinals? How do you match up with the Cowboys? None of these teams play a style like this. They play much more traditional, much more predictable styles of offense. Now, there is one thing about that and all of the teams that they could match up that really concerned me coming out of tonight. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. I just have an order on the way from Built Bar. What's really great, you get text notifications. Hey, we're sending it. It's on its way. It's coming. I know exactly what I'm getting. That is not the main appeal of Built Bar, but it is an appeal. It's certainly made me feel good about making that kind of purchase. These are the best tasting protein bars ever. They're the protein bars that taste like candy bars. They've got these marshmallow flavors for the holidays that are unbelievable. And they're all high in protein, high in fiber, but low in sugar, low in net carbs, and low in calories. We all want to eat delicious things around the holidays, and you're allowed. So make yourself feel a little bit better about something that tastes delicious because it's good for you. And that makes it easier to, have a little something over here that's maybe not in that same kind of way. That's okay. It's the holidays. Treat yourself, right? We're not still doing hashtag treat yourself, but hashtag treat yourself. And go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. That's built.com, the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. They have you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues to march to the playoffs. They remain your number one spot for all your sports betting action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and get a 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to get that bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right down to Las Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Here is what is so concerning coming out of this game for me. It's not that Tyler Huntley looked good. Tyler Huntley is a quality player. It's not that he was the team's leading rusher, although actually in some ways I do think that is good because Tom Brady is not beating you like that. Matthew Stafford not beating you like that. And Dak Prescott right now not using his feet to really beat you like that. Now, this is another reason why the number one seed is important. You can skip having to play Jalen Hurts because they play this non-traditional style of football as well. A lot of running, a lot of QB runs. You don't really want to deal with that if you're the Packers. No one does. That's why winning out and getting this top seed is so important. Here is the thing that concerns me the most coming out of this game. Mark Andrews, 10 catches, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If the Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl, they are going to have better answers for tight ends than that. Because if they want to beat the Cardinals again, Zach Ertz is fully assimilated into that Cardinals offense. The Rams have Tyler Higbee, who's a quality tight end, and they like to scheme him open. The Buccaneers, Rob Gronkowski is all of a sudden Rob Gronkowski again. He is a monster. The Eagles have Dallas Goedert. The 49ers have George Kittle. And if you aren't the one, and you have a 2-7, and it's 2-7 Niners, George Kittle should scare the crap out of you. This team needs the 1 seed for that reason, but they also need better answers for tight ends. Now, I don't think Darnell Savage is going to have a nightmare half again this season. They didn't have a great plan there, and he didn't play great in that plan. I mean, the second touchdown to Mark Andrews is a duck. It hangs up in the air forever, and Darnell Savage overruns it. And he's done that a couple times this year. His making plays on balls in the air, not the same sort of guy that we saw last year at the end of last year, where he's making plays and he's having 2 interception games and he's, playing this robber coverage underneath and reading the quarterback's eyes, firing downhill and breaking on passes. Maybe the star role is his best spot. But even then, you would expect him to play someone like Mark Andrews. That's what you have him there for. Now, here is, I think, the answer. If you can get Jair Alexander back for the playoffs, now you have Jair Alexander, you have Eric Stokes, you have Shannon Sullivan. You could use someone like Rasul Douglas. And if Rasul Douglas is your starting boundary guy, great. Then you can use Eric Stokes. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be the other way around. You play the Bucs. Rasul Douglas just has Rob Gronkowski. You play it that way. And, you're not going to man up the same guy with the same guy every time because you just become too predictable that way. But I think if you're the Packers, you go, okay, look, we think we can stop the run in light personnel. Our defensive front wins consistently with Kenny Clark out there and Rashawn Gary and all those guys. We think we can do this in Rasul Douglas. We want you, if Rob Gronkowski's split out, to cover him. Now, again, you can't do that every single play, but in these high leverage moments on 3rd and 6, on 3rd and 8, you will have an opportunity to do that. I think they could have switched it up a little bit with Adrian Amos there a little bit more, who's I think underrated in coverage. This goes back to the point that I was making in the second block. This was not a great plan from Joe Barry. And I think part of that is because this is an exceedingly difficult offense to game plan for. It is not necessarily the quarterback that they're used to game planning for when it comes to the Ravens. You watch a bunch of tape on the Ravens, you get all kinds of Lamar Jackson tendencies and first down tendencies. And hey, they like to do this on second down. And hey, Lamar Jackson is good at this, X, Y, Z. You don't have that film on Tyler Huntley. They don't have those tendencies. Greg Roman is going to call the game differently. So it is harder to anticipate what they're going to do. Again, you play Tom Brady. You know what Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady want to do in these situations. You know what Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay like to do and what they're good at and what they're bad at. Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy. You definitely damn sure better know that one. So I think that helps a little bit. I do think the Packers have answers when and if they get healthy. The problem is they weren't in this game, and you'd like to see your defensive coordinator come up with a little bit better plan in these games. Now, this is not like a big game problem. The Packers have not had defensive problems in big games. Arizona on short week, they had a great plan. They executed it very well, shorthanded. Against the Rams, they had a great plan. They executed it shorthanded. They've been shorthanded all year and have still found ways to make the plays that they have needed to make. This is still a very good defense. This is still a championship level defense. You bring Jair Alexander back, and now you have more answers for those kinds of guys. For slot receivers, you have more answers because you can slide Jair inside. Put Jair on a tight end if you have to. I mean, they could have done that in this game. If they had Jair Alexander, they might have just said, okay, Mark Andrews, when he's in the slot, Jair's got him. It gives you a lot more flexibility. And if you have Zadarius Smith, that we don't know if he's going to be back, it gives you more flexibility to feel like you're going to get home rushing 4. The Green Bay Packers were not able to do that in this game. So, look, you get the win. You get to 11-3. You secure your playoff spot. Now it is about winning out. 3 games to be the number 1 seed, to get a week off, and to have everyone come through Lambeau Field for the rest of the playoffs. That is the goal. That is the all-consuming goal, and it starts with beating Cleveland this week. All right, we have Expert Tuesday. Our old friend, Bailey Burmaster, is on the show. She is now in Cleveland covering the Browns, formerly in Green Bay. She's been on the show as a Packer reporter. Now she is a Browns reporter, so she is the perfect person to give us the two sides of this matchup. We'll also make sure that we get reset on Packers Ravens on Wednesday with Lily Zhao. We have got our Thursday show with Jeff Lloyd from Locked On Browns and our Friday live show to get you ready for Packers Browns on Christmas, assuming this game stays on Christmas. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to hit us up on the Locked On Packers fan hotline, you can do that, 920-341-3775 to stay Locked On Packers.